Hey guys, tonight we descend into the earth, literally. You're going to spend the night inside a kiva, a sacred subterranean chamber used by ancestral Puebloans of the American Southwest. It's round, dark and stone-walled, with a small hole in the ceiling for the stars to peer in. The people above live in adobe dwellings, terraced and clustered like sun-dried honeycomb, but your place for the night is beneath it all. Beneath the surface, beneath the silence. This is a place of ritual, of remembrance, and of rules. Lots of rules. And fair warning, if you're the type to sneeze when nervous, or mutter to yourself when scared, you probably won't survive this. Because silence here isn't just tradition, it's protection. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And while you're at it, drop your location and local time in the comments. I love seeing where everyone's listening from around the world. Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You wake just after sunset, jolted upright by the sound of a gourd rattle and the flash of a figure stepping through the doorway of your sleeping hut. No words, just a sharp hand signal. Get up. Your mat is made from woven reeds, and your blanket is a hide that still smells vaguely like the animal it came from. You try to shake the sleep from your arms, but they're heavy, like the dusk has settled into your muscles. Outside, the skies are deep indigo, the moon just a slim curve like a smile that doesn't quite reach the eyes. 2 other initiates are already waiting outside, both older than you by a few seasons. One nods, the other doesn't even look your way. You're handed a small clay talisman, a carved bird shape strung on yucca fibre, and you instinctively tuck it into the neck of your tunic. No one tells you to, it just feels right. The silence is total now. No dogs barking, no casual voices from the rooftops, just the crunch of feet on dirt and the wind pushing against the dry timbers of the village. The high mesa nearby glows faintly under the moonlight, casting long shadows like stretched out spirits watching your every move. You're led to the centre of the plaza, where a low circular structure sits flush with the ground. A kiva. The top is roofed with wood and earth, but there's a single ladder poking out of a hole in the middle. The entrance, and the only exit. This kiva is older than memory. Built before your grandmother's grandmother was born. Used every season, every solstice. The people of this village believe it is where the first humans emerged into this world from the one below. So yeah, it's more than a basement. You're gestured forward. The ladder creaks as you grip its side. The rungs are smooth from generations of feet. You descend slowly, knees wobbling slightly. The air grows warmer, heavier. The smoke from the small fire inside coils upward like it's trying to escape. The interior is round, sunken, its walls plastered and smoothed, but lined with shelves that hold bundles of herbs, feathers, carved figures, and bowls filled with dust, ash, and, let's be honest, probably the powdered remains of things you shouldn't ask too many questions about. At the centre is the hearth, coals glowing, flickers of orange light reflecting off your face and making your breath visible. You join the other initiates in a semicircle around it, sitting cross-legged on mats that feel like they've absorbed centuries of silence. There's a hole near the centre of the floor, a small one covered with a thin wooden slab. The sipapu. It represents the portal between the worlds, between the ancestors and the living, between everything you know and everything you've been taught not to fear. But here's the catch. You must not speak. Not tonight. Not until dawn. The entire night is a test of silence, not just of the mouth, but of the mind. If your thoughts are loud, if your presence is clumsy, the spirits might notice. And noticing isn't always a good thing. The priest who led you here now stands behind the fire. He's wearing a black-dyed robe fringed at the bottom with porcupine quills. His face is painted with red lines across the cheeks and a single white dot between the eyes. You can't look directly at him. That's part of the rules. He tosses a pinch of ground sage into the fire. The flames flare and spit. You try not to cough. The smoke burns your eyes a little, but you blink slowly, swallowing the urge to clear your throat. A woman enters next, descending the ladder with the grace of someone who's done it 1,000 times. She carries a bundle of long feathers and a shallow bowl of water tinted red with mineral clay. She doesn't speak either. She only moves around the circle, brushing each initiate lightly with the feathers, shoulders, forehead, chest. Then she touches your lips with a damp finger and presses it to your palm. That's the seal. No words from this moment on. The air is thick now. The silence feels heavy but not empty. It's full, like the walls themselves are breathing. Someone somewhere above you moves across the rooftop. A faint creak. The sound echoes through the chamber like a drumbeat from a distant memory. You glance up. The stars are watching through the hole, and so is something else. The ladder above you disappears as someone pulls it gently from the opening. A deliberate symbolic move. You're sealed in now. The stars still peek through the sipapoo in the roof, that small round portal between worlds, but the exit is gone. You're inside the earth, in a circle of strangers, beneath sacred beams scorched with time and ritual, surrounded by walls that don't echo. They absorb. The heat begins to settle around your skin like a second robe. Thick, damp with human breath and wood smoke. The kind that clings to your ribs when you inhale. The priest has taken his place against the southern wall, cross-legged, unmoving, a human shadow. Beside you, someone shifts, and the mat crackles beneath them. Not loud, but enough. The woman with the feather bundle pauses mid-step and turns her head just slightly. She doesn't scold, she doesn't punish. She simply waits. That's worse. The initiate freezes, the air stills, the silence returns. And then comes the descent, not metaphorical, physical. You're beckoned, wordlessly, to approach the sipapoo, the sacred center. You feel every pair of eyes tracking you. They're not judging, just witnessing, like the walls, like the earth itself. A second, smaller ladder has been placed inside the hole. It's narrow, carved roughly, the kind of wood that splinters when it's dry. You're meant to climb down. Into a chamber beneath the chamber. A belly within the belly. You place your hands on the sides and lower yourself into darkness. The heat rises from below. It smells like burnt sage, old blood, and something sweet. Honey, maybe, or rotten corn. You can't tell. The room below is tiny, just tall enough to stand hunched. Its walls are raw stone, sweat-slicked and ancient. You have the strange sensation that you're not the first person to feel fear here, and that fear itself is part of the architecture. You crouch, you wait. Then, without warning, a thin hand emerges from the darkness and smears something across your face. It's warm, grainy, slick, ash and ochre. The hand vanishes again. You're not touched with violence, but with something even more unnerving. Intimacy. Like the hand already knew you. Like it was waiting. You hear breathing in the dark. Close. Multiple breaths. You're not alone. A soft chime rings out, just once, and you climb back up. The priest nods when you rejoin the circle. He gestures for the next initiate to descend. They do. Their face is unreadable when they return, but you swear their breath is shallower. Now, the chamber smells different. Not just smoke, but ceremony. The kind of smell that stays on your skin for days, maybe longer. The priest stands. He picks up a shallow ceramic bowl filled with white powder. He moves to each initiate, dipping his fingers in and drawing a spiral onto each person's left palm. When he reaches you, the powder smells like crushed bone and sage. The spiral he paints feels cool, but starts to itch as soon as he walks away. You're told, through gesture, to keep your hand open. You do. The woman returns, holding a woven tray of cedar bundles. You each take one. She nods. Now comes the part no one told you about. You are to light the cedar at the central hearth, but without making a sound. No cough, no gasp, no sharp breath when the smoke hits your eyes. Your bundle catches quickly, crackling as oils meet flame. You press it to the side of the hearth, watching the smoke rise in gentle coils, and hold your breath to keep the scent from crawling into your throat. This isn't cleansing, it's offering. Smoke is a message here, and you're not the only one sending it. As you sit back in the circle, the others follow. Soon, the kiva is full of layered scent. Cedar, smoke, skin, silence. It builds like a kind of invisible symphony, each breath a note, each face a verse. Then, a child enters, barefoot, silent, painted from head to toe in white clay, with a spiral drawn around each eye. They don't speak. They walk around the circle slowly, carrying a thick rope of yucca fiber. When they reach you, they press one end into your lap. You freeze. They move on. When they've completed the circle, they tug the rope gently, not to pull, but to connect. The rope tugs slightly in your lap, and suddenly you feel tethered. To them, to the kiva, to the old voices that built this space with their bare hands and burnt dreams. It is now fully dark inside, save for the flickering heart of the fire, and the pale gleam of starlight slipping through the sipapu. The priest raises one hand and points to you. You inhale slowly, deeply, and crawl forward to the edge of the hearth. Your task is not to speak, it is to listen. You press your ear to the kiva floor. It's warm, alive, and then you hear it. Not a voice, a sound, like breathing, like the earth exhaling. Maybe it's wind through the masonry. Maybe it's the blood in your ears. Or maybe, just maybe, the stars are listening back. You sit back, spine tingling, as if some invisible current has passed through your bones and settled at the base of your neck. The others watch, not with curiosity but with knowing. No one moves to comfort you. No one breaks the silence. What you heard, whether breath, wind, or something older, is yours now, carved into your ears like a memory you didn't choose to have. The priest dips his hand into a new bowl, this one filled with crushed blue cornmeal, flecked with darker shades. He sprinkles it in a spiraling pattern across the floor, starting from the fire and working outward. The powder glows faintly in the firelight, almost luminous in the way wet sand gleams before dawn. The spiral stops at your mat. No one else's, just yours. You're beckoned again. This time not by gesture, but by gravity. You kneel at the start of the cornmeal spiral. Behind you, the others wait. You're handed a carved stone the size of your fist. It's smooth, but cold. So cold it makes your skin pucker. On one side, there's a single deep groove. Your job is simple. Carry the stone along the spiral path with only one hand and place it at the center without disturbing the cornmeal. If the powder shifts even a little, it's considered a fracture in your spirit's path. No pressure. You begin. The first few steps are easy. The floor is warm, the spiral wide. You tiptoe along its outer edge, trying not to breathe too loudly, trying not to think about what happens if you fail. The stone grows heavier, not literally, but it feels like it remembers something you don't, like it's been here before. Halfway in, your toe brushes the edge of the spiral, just enough to kick up a faint wisp of blue dust. You freeze. You don't dare look up, but you feel their eyes. You exhale, step back, and start again. The second time you move slower, like time has thickened, like the spiral is trying to keep you. You reach the center, place the stone in the groove of the hearth, step back. You don't bow, you don't smile, you just sit. The others take their turns, not all succeed. One boy drops his stone, another drags a heel through the pattern and tries to brush it back with his foot. The priest's eyes harden. The room grows colder. The offenders are not punished, but they are passed over. You don't know what that means, not yet. The priest now carries a bowl of water. It's not clear, it's dark. The surface reflects the firelight like obsidian. Each initiate is told, by gesture, to gaze into the bowl when it reaches them. When it comes to you, your hands tremble slightly as you hold it. It's heavier than it looks. You tilt it just enough to see your face, except it's not just your face. For a heartbeat, you swear you see someone else staring back. Older, familiar, wounded. You blink. It's gone, but not forgotten. The priest nods, takes the bowl and moves on. Soft wind hisses through the sipapu. The fire bends sideways, momentarily gasping. The smell of ash sharpens. Then the whisper begins. It doesn't come from the priest, or the others. It comes from the walls. Faint at first, like water over stone, like leaves brushing skin, but unmistakable, whispers. You try not to react, but your jaw tightens, your throat clenches. They're not speaking a language you know, but your body understands it. A story is being told, not in words, in feelings. A child lost in a canyon. A woman dancing while the stars blink open like eyes. A man burying something beneath the kiva, tears falling into dust. Each whisper threads itself into your thoughts. You don't know where they begin and you end. And then, silence again. The fire returns to stillness. The priest lifts a bundle wrapped in a rabbit skin. From within, he draws a ceremonial object, a clay mask. It's painted in black and white, with a long narrow nose and hollowed eyes. Strips of corn husk dangle like hair. It's neither human nor animal. He places it in front of you. You are to wear it. You nod once slowly, and when you place it over your face, the world changes. The eye holes narrow your vision to a tunnel. The mouth is closed tight. The scent inside is musty, earthy, sweat-soaked. And suddenly, you can't tell if you're still you. Your breath echoes inside the mask. You hear nothing else, not even the fire, just your breath. And something else, breathing with you. You sit still, breathing behind the mask, the curved clay pressing against your cheeks like a second face. It's not comfortable. The air inside grows hotter with each inhale, more humid, tinged with the scent of old ashes and time. The corn husk strands brush your shoulders with every movement, reminding you that you're not supposed to move. The silence presses in, thick, full, expectant. Your heart beats louder than it should, or maybe you've just never listened to it this closely before. Then comes the gesture. The priest raises both hands and points toward the northern recess of the kiva, where the light from the fire barely reaches. You shuffle forward, masked and silent, toward what looks like a low altar, stone, smooth, and dusted with ash. Atop it rests a wide bowl of dark liquid. Around it, small votive carvings, deer, sun symbols, spirals, and stars worn down by generations of hands and heat. The bowl is yours, you kneel, and now comes the bowl of echoes. You're meant to whisper your greatest fear into it, not as confession, but as reflection. They say if you speak honestly, the bowl listens. They also say if you lie, you'll hear yourself lying, over and over again. You stare into the liquid and it stares back. Your face, distorted by the curve of the bowl, looks unfamiliar, longer, older, haunted. The mask has been lifted, but you're not sure you took it off. Your hands tremble, but you don't let them shake the bowl. You lean in and whisper. The fear doesn't come from your mind. It arrives from somewhere deeper. You don't speak it. It speaks through you. I will disappear, you whisper. The moment you say it, the surface of the water ripples. You freeze. The bowl grows darker somehow. The reflection fades, not from the ripple, but from refusal. It no longer shows your face. Instead, it shows nothing. Not blackness, just absence. You place the bowl back gently. Your breath catches. You don't know if it accepted your truth or swallowed it. You return to your mat. The priest moves slowly now. There's no rush. The night is long. He draws a new bundle from the rabbit skin wrap, a pouch made of deer hide stitched with sinew. He unties it and pours its contents into his hand. Ash, bone powder, crushed mica, a glimmer of something metallic. He draws his finger through it, then kneels beside each initiate in turn. On your forehead, he draws 2 vertical lines, one for each world. Then a single dot in the center, between your eyebrows, the eye of watching. You're being turned into a vessel, a medium, an ear for the stars. The silence now becomes more than absence. It becomes density. The kiva feels smaller, as if the walls have closed in, or perhaps expanded, and you're the one shrinking. Then something moves. Not someone. Something. From the sipapu, a thin breeze descends. Cold, direct. Not random, but placed. It snakes down through the hole and the fire bends again, this time more dramatically. The shadows twist. And in that shadow, a figure descends, slowly, without a sound. At first you think it's another initiate, but no. The body is too still, too intentional. They're draped in feathered robes. A mask painted with spirals and owl eyes covers their entire face. They move like smoke with bones. A masked one. The stories say they come only when someone is listening with the right ears. Some say they are ancestral spirits, returned to test the purity of the ritual. Others claim they're living people, chosen to act as the in-between. To wear the mask is to abandon the self, to let the spirit step in. Historians still argue whether these figures were actors, shamans, or symbols. The village insists they are real, and you're not in the mood to debate anthropology while holding your breath in a sacred firelit hole. The masked one stops at the center, turns in a slow, exact circle, then raises their arms. You do not mimic them. You wait. You feel. They begin to sway. No music, no drum, just the fire's crackle and the sound of movement. You start to hear something else, not sound, rhythm, internal. as if your ribs have become a drum skin, as if something outside of you is matching something inside of you, beat for beat. You're not asked to rise, but your body wants to. The masked one crouches, then rises, and their movement pulls at something deep in your stomach. It's not fear, not awe, it's memory of something you've never done, but know how to do. They extend a hand toward you, palm up, fingers long, marked with white dust. You reach out, touch, and the world doesn't shatter. It softens. You're no longer an initiate, you're a mirror, and the reflection has just begun to move. Your fingers leave the masked one's hand like smoke trailing off a lit torch. Their touch doesn't burn, but it leaves something behind, something that hums in your fingertips, as if your skin suddenly remembers things your mind never learned. You return to your mat, but everything is different now. The fire looks closer, the air feels thicker. Even the silence feels louder, as though it's building towards something it hasn't yet dared to say. You're not allowed to speak, of course, but now the silence itself seems to be speaking through you. The masked one returns to the center of the kiva and begins a new pattern, this time tracing lines on the floor with white chalky powder from a leather pouch. It spirals outward, with forked branches like lightning, or like roots. You realize they're drawing a map, but not of places, of paths. Each line is a direction, a decision, a descent. No one says this aloud, but the body understands it anyway. Once finished, the masked one sits. Now the priest picks up a small ceremonial bowl, gourd-shaped, with holes carved into its surface like a flute. He places it in your lap. You look down. The bowl is filled with water. But through the holes, air whistles faintly, creating a soft, high-pitched whine when your hands move even slightly. This is the test of stillness. You're supposed to hold it perfectly level, for as long as needed. While the others take their turns, any sound means failure. You hold your breath. The water feels like glass balanced on thread. Your arms ache almost immediately. Your mind wants to run, but there's nowhere to go. You are alone with the tension in your muscles and the distant whisper of air slipping through carved holes. You imagine the stars above you, watching, not judging, just witnessing. After what feels like forever, the priest lifts the bowl from your hands. You exhale, very, very slowly. Others take their turns. One drops the bowl. The whistle it lets out is piercing, like a cry. The priest says nothing, but the bowl is not returned. The initiate sits in silence, trembling. The next moment, a breeze enters the kiva. You'd think wind couldn't reach this deep, but it does. It circles the room like a living thing. Some say the spirits ride wind. Others believe the breath of the earth itself responds to movement down here. The masked one rises again. They lift a small jar and scatter what looks like pollen into the fire. It flashes. For a split second, the kiva glows like day. In that instant, you see something you cannot explain. A second shadow behind the priest, flickering, then gone. The others saw it too. No one reacts, because this is the moment you've been warned about, the sacred trial of the cornmeal circle. The priest rises and with careful hands begins to pour a perfect spiral of white and yellow cornmeal on the kiva floor. It starts around the fire and extends toward each initiate, ending at your knees. The pattern is precise, flawless. You're each instructed without words to rise and step into the spiral one at a time, to walk its length, to arrive at the center, and to stand completely still for 13 breaths, no more, no less. You've seen someone fail this. A girl the year before. Her second foot landed outside the spiral. The masked one surrounded her, gently, wordlessly. She was led away. You've never seen her again. Now it's your turn. You rise slowly. Your legs feel foreign, like they belong to someone older or someone recently born. The spiral waits. Your first step lands perfectly. Then another and another. You follow the path with reverence, not like a trail, like a ritual. Each step feels like a prayer you're too humble to speak. Finally, the center. You close your eyes. 13 breaths. You count by feel, not seconds, not numbers, but the pull and release of air through your ribs. 1, 2, you can hear your pulse now. 4, 5, something shifts near your ankle. A beetle, maybe. You don't look. You keep breathing. 6, 7, 8. You hear movement behind you. The masked one. 9, 10. You smell corn and ash. 11, 12, the final breath, and then you step backward, out of the spiral, unbroken. The priest watches you, then nods. Once. The test is passed. The others follow. Some fail, some succeed. But when you return to your mat, something has changed. The spiral is no longer just on the ground. You feel it inside you, uncoiling, slowly, patiently, as if something sacred just moved into the hollow behind your ribs and decided to stay. The fire in the kiva has burned low now, just red glowing coals wrapped in whispers and ritual ash. The shadows stretch longer across the stone walls, no longer leaping but folding in on themselves, like they've settled in for the long watch. You lie still on your mat, the spiral still turning softly inside your chest, like an old song hummed from bone memory. Around you, the others breathe in rhythm, silent but synchronizing, like something inside all of you is being tuned. The masked one returns, this time with a bundle of face paints, pigments ground from stone and charcoal, mixed with animal fat into paste so dense they gleam like oil. The priest lights a twist of dried grass and uses it to anoint the air. You catch the scent of crushed juniper and dried sage, sharp enough to pinch your nose. Your name is not called, but you know it's your turn. You crawl forward on knees and elbows to the fire's edge, then turn to face the masked one. They dip a carved stick into the paint and smear wide arcs across your cheekbones, one black, one red. Then, beneath your eyes, they paint long horizontal lines stretching toward your ears. These are the owl eyes. They are not decoration, they are permission to see what others are not supposed to. With the paint comes the first wave of disorientation, not dizzy, not drunk, just loosened, like the walls are breathing slower than they were, like time itself has tilted slightly to one side. You're not dreaming, but you're not dreaming either. You're handed a stone, not for holding, for grinding. A small slab of basalt is placed before you. Upon it, dried herbs, yerba santa, wild tobacco, and something else with a sharp floral scent. Your job is to grind it down into fine powder using a river-worn pestle, slowly, rhythmically, without scattering the dust. It's harder than it sounds. Your shoulders ache, your elbows scream in quiet protest. But you keep going, because this isn't about herbs. It's about what you sacrifice through repetition. Historians sometimes refer to these late-night grinding rituals as mental preparation techniques, reducing them to a kind of prehistoric yoga. But they miss the point. You're not preparing your mind, you're disassembling it. By the time the mixture is ready, your breath is ragged and your arms are trembling. The masked one collects your powder in a shallow dish and walks away. You remain seated, trying to gather yourself. Then comes the wind again, through the sipapoo like a sigh. This time it brings scent with it. Dust and pollen and memory. Not yours, at least not just yours. You feel a presence slide into the room like a drop of ink into still water. It changes nothing, but colours everything. A new masked one descends, this one smaller, lighter. Their mask is painted with a fox's face, and its mouth is open, unusual. They walk differently. Not floating like the first, but swift, sharp, like they're running even when they're standing still. They carry a bowl of water. You're asked to drink. The priest offers it. You lift it slowly, 2 hands, as is custom. The water is cool, clay sweet, but also bitter. Your tongue pulls back instinctively. Then, your mind starts to stretch. Images bloom behind your eyes. The sun, a cornfield, a dead tree crawling with ants, a cave, a blue star, and then your own face, painted, laughing, crying, all at once. You blink and the kiva returns, but you're sweating now. Your limbs feel light. And the fire, oh, the fire knows. It flickers toward you like a tongue tasting the truth. The priest places a hand on your shoulder, the only touch of the night. You don't flinch. You wait. You're handed a new object, a flute, hollow, carved from bird bone. You don't know how to play it. That doesn't matter. You're to hold it, to breathe through it. Not to make music, but to make space. You place the flute to your lips. Exhale gently. A note escapes. Soft, strained, haunting. The kind of sound that makes your bones remember winter. You blow again. This time, the tone bends slightly. And that's when you hear it. An echo. Not from the walls, From the Sipapoo? From above? Or below? You don't know anymore. You blow again. The sound returns fuller, like someone, or something, is playing with you. Not mocking, mirroring. You lower the flute. Look at the others. Some are staring at you. Some have their eyes closed. The masked ones are utterly still. The priest nods once. You have opened the path. You don't know what that means, but the spiral inside your chest. It spins faster now, like it's preparing you for something your language doesn't have words for. And just as suddenly the air shifts again. The child from before, the one painted in white, returns. This time they carry a small clay figure. It has no face, just the outline of a head, arms folded, knees drawn to chest. They set it before you, bow, and vanish. You pick up the figure. It's cold, light, but it holds weight, not mass, meaning. You set it on your mat beside you. You don't know what to do with it, but it's watching you, or waiting. The owl eyes burn, the flute hums, the spiral spins, and the kiva listens. Still, always, listening. You don't remember falling asleep because technically you're not supposed to. The kiva isn't a place for dreams, it is the dream. And yet, at some point after the flute, after the faceless figure, after the grinding and the whispering walls, your body tips forward, your mind detaches, and you land in that thick in-between space that feels like swimming through velvet. But when you wake, if you can call it that, you're standing. Or rather, you're being stood up. Two masked figures have taken you gently by the arms and lifted you from your mat. Not forcefully, but not exactly with permission either. You're a bundle of muscle and sweat and confusion, legs moving automatically as they guide you toward the eastern wall, where a section of the plaster has been painted with soft spiraled handprints in ochre and black. There, you're given a task. A bowl is placed in your hands, a wide flat one made of clay, its rim etched with zigzag patterns. Inside, a shallow layer of water. Your reflection ripples instantly, too distorted to recognize. You're not supposed to drink from it. You're supposed to whisper into it. This is the bowl of echoes, again, but this time it's personal. Earlier you spoke your fear into the first bowl. That one was for the kiva. This one's for you. You kneel in front of the wall and raise the bowl. It catches the light of the fire glowing faintly. Your face appears again, just barely. Cheeks painted, eyes shadowed, mask long removed but not forgotten. You lean in and you whisper. Not a fear this time. A name. Not yours. Someone else's. Someone you've been carrying like a stone in your chest. The moment you speak it, the surface stills. The water listens. Then comes the choice. You're handed a slip of paper-thin mica, fragile, translucent and sharp. The priest places it on your palm. Your job is to inscribe a single glyph into the powdery layer of the bowl. No tools, only your breath. The symbol must come from somewhere deeper than thought. So you breathe, gently, over and over, until the water evaporates, and the mica becomes etched with moisture trails, curling into the spiral again, but differently this time. Personalized. The priest accepts it in silence, stores it somewhere beneath his robe. You don't know what it means. You just know something was transferred. You sit again. The others have had similar experiences. You can see it in their eyes. A few have marks on their arms now, faint spirals, thin stripes of paint or ash. One initiate has a smear of red clay across her collarbone that wasn't there earlier. The room seems smaller, but not cramped, concentrated. Then, a small drum is brought out. It's no larger than your outstretched hand, made of stretched hide over a clay frame, a single painted spiral in the center. You're told, without words, to strike it. Once, just once, but at the right time. No clue is given, just intuition. You wait. Your hand hovers, the fire flickers. Someone coughs behind you. Softly, then stillness. Then something in your stomach tightens, like the feeling right before lightning. You strike the drum. The sound is small, but it pierces, and in that exact moment the masked ones move. All of them at once. 3 descend from the shadows above the Sipapoo. Had they been there the whole time? One crawls in through a narrow passage you hadn't even seen. They take their places at the cardinal points of the kiva, north, south, east, west, each mast in a different style. The north one wears feathers and bone, the south painted rain patterns in black, the east eyes closed in the mask as if blind, the west mouth open in a grin that is somehow not comforting. They begin a silent motion, a kind of slow, synchronized sway. No music, no chant, just the creak of leather, the shuffle of sandaled feet against stone. You're invited into the center. This is not the dance of celebration. This is the mirror dance. You're not supposed to imitate them. You're supposed to become them. They move in symbols, not steps. And now your body must remember stories it has never lived. You raise your arms slowly, let them fall, twist, lower, lift again. Not beautifully, but truthfully. You feel ridiculous, then ashamed, then open, then empty. Not numb, just ready. Your limbs stop being limbs. They become threads, pulled by something larger. The masked ones shift with you. No leader, no rhythm, just reflection. And somewhere in that reflection, you begin to cry. Not from sadness, but from recognition. Because in one of their movements, sharp, spiraling, and precise, you see your own childhood. Not as memory, as presence. The masked one representing the east pauses before you, places a hand near your cheek, but never touches. You see your own face in the painted mask, and it smiles. The dance ends. The fire returns to stillness, and you return to your mat soaked in sweat, but lighter. Like your bones gave something back, and were forgiven. Your breath comes ragged now, chest rising and falling like bellows too long forgotten in a hearth. The dance didn't break you, it opened you. Your sweat pools beneath your collarbone and your hair sticks to the painted spiral on your cheek, which has started to smudge. But no one scolds you. No one even moves. The masked ones melt away the moment the fire's glow fades back to red, like they were never there. Only the heat remains, and the silence that settles in after something sacred has just happened. You slump back onto your mat, arms trembling, and then, without warning, you hear it. A sound you're absolutely not supposed to hear. A cry, not loud, not theatrical, just raw. It comes from the shadows behind the southern recess of the kiva, a quiet, choked weeping. And you know instinctively that you're not supposed to acknowledge it. It could be a spirit, it could be a trick, or it could be another initiate who's cracked open too soon. The priest does not look up. He heard it too. So did everyone. But silence must hold, even when it breaks your heart. You don't turn your head, but your mind drifts toward it. The crying stops. The fire spits. The night returns to stillness. Then, an odd gesture. You're beckoned not to the center this time, but to the edge of the kiva, where a shallow trench of sand has been drawn into a long rectangular frame. 4 bowls are placed before you, each filled with a different color of sand, white, red, black, and golden yellow. Your task? To tell your story, using only breath. You're not allowed to touch the sand. No fingers, no tools, just air. You kneel, lean close, and begin to blow. At first, the grains don't move, but then the yellow sand shifts slightly, forming a crude crescent. Encouraged, you lean in again. White next, then black, then red. The story that forms is not elegant, but it's alive. A sun, a spiral, a figure falling, a shape rising. You don't think, you let your breath tell the story for you. And when you finish, you sit back and realize your lips are dry and cracked, your lungs burn, and your arms shake from holding still so long. But the story is there. The priest glances once, then covers it gently with a cloth. Not to erase, to preserve. You have passed the breath test. The fire is stirred again, this time with a forked stick carved to resemble lightning. The flame flares, revealing a new figure entering the chamber. Not masked. A woman, elder, barefoot. She carries a bowl with both hands, shaped like a human head, with water inside. She kneels before you, offers it. You drink. It tastes metallic, earthy, unsettling. It runs down your throat like memory and makes your stomach twist. For a moment, your vision narrows, and then you see, really see, the kiva. Not as it is, as it was. You blink, and the walls are gone. You're underground, but the sky is above you. The stars are close, closer than you thought possible, like beads stitched into velvet. The priest is gone. The initiates are gone. Only you remain. And the whispers. They return, curling around your ribs, wrapping your ankles in phrases that make no sense to your ears, but perfect sense to your bones. One voice stands out. Not louder, just more direct. It says your name, not the one you speak, the one you haven't remembered in years, the one you buried. You say it aloud, or think it, or breathe it. And the kiva answers. The flames spiral upward. The figure, no longer masked, stands before you again. Their face is your face, but older, weathered, smiling gently without pity. Then, just as quickly, it all fades. The fire returns. The walls return. You're on your mat again. The priest places a hand on your chest. Not as punishment, as grounding. You are here. Still listening, still held. You curl into yourself, not to hide, to gather everything that's been stirred up tonight. The spiral now feels complete. But the night is not over. There is one last ritual, and it's the hardest one. Stillness. True stillness. You are told, through a single gesture, to lie flat. Arms out, palms up, eyes open, staring directly through the sipapu at the stars until the fire burns down to a single coal. If you blink, that's fine. But if you look away, they say you'll forget everything. You don't plan to test that theory. You breathe and watch and wait. And hope the stars are still watching too. Your body settles onto the mat like it's sinking into the earth itself. Limbs heavy, lungs shallow, eyes locked on the single round opening above. The sipapu, the sky's pupil, watching you as you lie completely still. No movement, no sound, not even thought, if you can help it. Just the stars. Dozens, maybe hundreds. You can't count them now, but each one feels like it sees you. Not the you wrapped in sweat and silence. The real you. The quiet you underneath the noise. The fire is dying beside you. One glowing coal remains, pulsing like a heart at the center of the kiva. It throbs in slow rhythm with your own chest. If it goes out before you finish this test, the trial resets. You start again. You earn stillness here. You don't get it for free. And then comes the ladder. You hear the creak first. The soft clunk of wood against wood as it's lowered back into place. But you do not look. You cannot. The rule is clear. Do not shift your gaze. Eyes on the sipapu. Let the stars do the watching. You do not need to watch them back. A breeze tumbles in from the sky hole, curling across the floor, tugging at the edge of your robe. You resist the urge to pull it back. Let it go. Let everything go. Footsteps sound on the ladder. Slow. Deliberate. Someone is entering again. You hope it's the priest. But you know better. This is the part no one talks about. The one visitors don't write about in journals. The final visitor. Bare feet pad across the stone floor. The fire coal glows brighter for a moment, then steadies. The presence walks behind you, stops, breathes, and waits. You can feel it. They're waiting to see if you'll flinch, so you don't. The fire crackles faintly. Something brushes your foot. Not a hand, not a breeze. Something colder, like a memory made solid. Still, you don't move. The stars blink above, and then it speaks. A whisper, not into your ear, but into your mind. It says, you forgot something. You don't answer, can't, but it's not asking for a response. It's offering a choice. Do you want to remember, even if it hurts, even if it shatters whatever piece you think you found? You blink slowly. Let the stars ask the question again, and again, until you whisper, inside, yes. The coal flares. The figure behind you is gone. The priest reappears at your side, silent as ever. He hands you something, a thin piece of bark rolled into a scroll. You sit up slowly. No one else moves. You unroll it. Inside, written in ochre ink, is a single line. The silence has spoken. There is no interpretation offered. You must carry it now. The priest lifts the coal from the hearth with a carved spoon and places it into a small clay dish, where it continues to glow like a star caught on earth. He hands the dish to you. You are now the firekeeper. For the rest of the night, until dawn, you must sit with the coal. Tend it. Protect it. If it dies, the silence is broken. You cradle the bowl in both hands and return to your mat. The heat is steady, comforting, not just warmth, but presence. This coal was once part of something larger, and now it's yours to carry. A symbol of responsibility, of awareness, of everything you've survived tonight. Hours pass, or maybe minutes. Time doesn't exist here the way it does in the world above. One by one, the others fall into trance, or sleep. But you stay awake, because the coal stays awake. You feel it pulse, not just with fire, with memory. You remember the cornmeal spiral, the owl eyes, the whisper through the sipapoo, and the cry. You wonder who cried, and whether they were comforted. You look at the faceless figure still resting on your mat, and you swear. Its head is tilted slightly, as if listening. The coal dims, just a little. You cup it closer, and whisper just once, "Thank you." It glows again. The stars blink slower, and the sipapoo begins to pale. The first hint of dawn curling at the edge of the sky. The fire has lasted. The silence too. You are not the same. You will never be the same. And soon, you'll have to climb the ladder back to the world that has no idea what you've just become. The ladder creaks again, but this time, it's not a visitor coming down. It's the invitation to rise. The priest stands beside it, motioning with a single hand, upward, outward, homeward. Not that you really know where home is anymore. The fire is down to one ember, nestled in your clay bowl like the final word of an ancient sentence. You hold it as if it weighs more than it should. And it does, in a way. It carries everything you couldn't say aloud. You rise from your mat slowly, limbs aching from stillness, not strain. Your joints creak like the ladder. Your robe smells like cedar, smoke, sweat, and something more subtle. Memory. You step toward the center one last time, feeling the dust shift beneath your bare feet. The spiral that once marked the floor is gone now, erased by the movements of the night, but you feel its shape in your steps anyway. The priest dips a feather bundle in water and flicks it toward the hearth. The hiss of steam sounds like a final exhale. Then, without a word, he leads you to the ladder. You look up. The stars are still there, but fainter now. A few stubborn ones cling to the sky like dew that refuses to dry. You climb. Each rung is rough, carved, familiar. You remember descending hours ago, or was it lifetimes? The kiva's mouth opens above you. Cool air kisses your face. The sky greets you not with brilliance, but with a quiet kind of relief. You emerge like a newborn from the belly of the earth, and it hits you. The noise, birdsong, wind, footsteps on clay roofs, life. It's not loud, but after hours of ritual silence, it feels blinding. You blink, breathe, adjust. The village is still asleep mostly. Fires being lit, doors creaking open. A dog stretches in the sun, tail thumping the dust. You've never felt more detached and more connected at once. You're handed a folded cloth and told to wrap the fire bowl. You do it instinctively, as if you've done it before. The ember inside is yours to return. You walk to the central fire pit, the one everyone in the village uses for food, stories, ceremony. You kneel beside it and press the ember into the waiting kindling. It smoulders, catches. Flames rise, slow, golden, soft. The fire breathes, and so do you. You sit back and watch it burn. You expect someone to speak, to acknowledge what you've just completed. No one does. But an elder woman walks past you with a bowl of cornmeal and without breaking stride sprinkles a pinch into the flames. A silent offering. A sign. They saw. They know. You're no longer an outsider here. You walk back toward your dwelling, slower than before. The air smells different now. Every breeze feels like a message. Every bird call feels like a reminder. You've become porous, absorbent. The world leaks into you now. At your mat you find a new robe, clean, folded, dyed with streaks of red, yellow and black, the same colours of the sand painting you created in the kiva. Someone remembered, someone witnessed. You change into it quietly. Behind your mat you notice a new object, a bowl smaller than before. Inside, a spiral drawn in ochre, and beneath it your name, not spoken, not written in your everyday tongue, but rendered in sacred glyphs. You're not told what it means. You already know. It means you passed. You are now one of them. But more importantly, you are you, a version you didn't know existed, a version forged in the silence. That afternoon, you are invited, not summoned, to sit with the storytellers, elders mostly. 2 women with silver-threaded braids, 1 man with hands that never stop moving. They're weaving, spinning, knotting fibers as they speak. One looks at you and says, "The stars told us about you." You smile. You don't reply. The silence is still alive inside you. It speaks for you now. They offer you string, dyed red with crushed cochineal. You begin to weave. It's clumsy at first, but something inside your hands remembers. Each loop is a memory, each knot a lesson. You stay until the sun begins to fall, and no one asks you to leave, because you're not a guest anymore. You're the one who climbed down, sat in the dark, stared up at the stars and listened. Truly listened. That night, you lie under the open sky, not inside, but on the rooftop. You don't need walls tonight. You need space. And the stars, they blink again, same as they always did, but different. Now, when they move, you notice. Now, when they listen, you understand. Now, when they whisper, you whisper back. You don't dream that night, not in the usual sense. You drift between layers of quiet, wrapped in a robe of starlight and heat, your body no longer stiff from ritual but softened by meaning. The rooftop is cold but not unkind. You pull your woven blanket tighter around your shoulders, watch a hawk-shaped cloud drift overhead, and realize the silence hasn't left you. It's moved in. At first light, the elders begin to stir. The sky is peach and gold, the mesa beyond the village etched in charcoal against the rising sun. Women hum quietly as they grind corn. You hear water being poured from a clay jug. The village is alive again, but slower, more aware. It's as though everything is moving in quiet respect for the thing you've become. You climb down from the rooftop and join the line for morning water. No one speaks. A girl behind you offers you a painted gourd. It's not much, but you know what it means. You've become someone they bring offerings to, not because they worship you, but because they see you now. The priest from the kiva appears, his robe a little less formal now, but his gaze still sharp. He walks beside you in silence, then hands you a bowl wrapped in a strip of deer hide. Inside is a single coal, still warm. You blink at him. He just nods once. Another coal, another beginning. You're told, through a gesture, to carry it to the western edge of the village, where the dead are remembered, where the living begin again. You walk the path alone, dust crunching beneath your sandals. Along the way, you pass shrines, small, circular, decorated with feathers, stones, and dried petals. You pause at one, instinctively pressing your palm against the wall. The spiral's echo lingers in your hand. Finally, you reach the outer circle, a flat clearing marked by upright stones. This is the memory place. No graves here, just stories buried in light and wind. You kneel, place the coal in a carved notch in the central stone and sit, waiting. A child approaches, not from the village but from nowhere, it seems. A boy with soot on his cheeks and a twig in his hair. He stares at you, then at the coal. "Did it talk to you?" he asks. You're not supposed to speak. But something in this moment breaks the rule without breaking the silence. "It listened," you say. He nods. Then he runs away. The wind picks up, lifting dust, carrying prayers. You rise, return to the village, and find a circle forming in the central plaza. Children, elders, dogs even. And in the center, a dancer, painted in white, masked like a sun, robes that flutter even without wind. The masked one, not one you've seen before. This is the closing, the dance of remembrance, only performed when someone has completed the full night in the kiva. You. They dance for you, but not about you. Their dance traces your path, your silence, your fire, your spiral, and you realize you're no longer carrying the ritual is carrying you. Later, you sit with the women who weave symbols into belts and sashes. They hand you red thread. You begin your own pattern. The lines do not follow tradition, they follow memory. You don't need to explain it. They see. One weaver murmurs, "That pattern hasn't been made since my grandmother's grandmother." You smile. You didn't know that, but your hands did. That evening, you're invited to a small ceremony at the edge of the village. Not the temple, not the kiva, a cliff overlooking the desert, where they say the stars gather when the sky is too full to hold them. You're given a gourd of water and a handful of cornmeal. The priest speaks now, finally. Just one sentence. Give back what you borrowed. You pour the water onto the earth. Let the cornmeal drift in the breeze. The earth drinks. The wind eats. You bow. You feel light. Not empty. Balanced. Night falls again. You lie beneath the stars for the second night. But this time, they don't feel so far away. One of them twinkles, or winks, or maybe, just maybe, says, "Thank you." By the third sunrise, the kiva has faded into your skin. You no longer need to recall what happened below ground. It's in you now, like a tattoo under the ribs, invisible but permanent. Every time you blink, you can still see the flicker of the coal. Every time you breathe, you feel the weight of that bowl. And every time you look at someone who hasn't been down there yet, you recognize the shape of their untested silence. You begin your morning differently now. No one gives you tasks. You simply know what to do. You sweep the hearth with a bundle of cedar twigs. You refill the water jars, leaving one near the shrine where the wind likes to rest. You move slowly, with care. Not like you're cautious, but like you're weaving something with your presence. At midday, you're invited to help prepare a feast. Not a celebration of your survival, but a rite that honors the ones who came before you. You join the women grinding corn, the rhythm of stone against stone strangely soothing now. One of them hums. You join her, even though you don't know the melody. Another sprinkles ash into the fire to feed it. You see the spiral of smoke rise and think, she's listening again. That night, they call for a telling, not a story in the usual sense. A remembering. You're handed a carved gourd filled with water. In it floats a petal from a yucca flower, and beneath it, a single black bead. You're told to speak only once the bead touches the bottom. You wait. Everyone waits. The petal spins, then sinks. You speak. Not about the kiva, not directly. You speak of the feeling, of the way the fire reflected things you didn't want to see, of how the breath was louder than the drum, of how your name sounded different when whispered to water. No one interrupts. When you're done, the priest rises, not to respond, but to place a hand on your shoulder. He says nothing. That's all the response you need. Later that week, you find the child again, the one who asked if the coal spoke to you. He's drawing shapes in the dust with a stick, spirals, triangles, one that looks suspiciously like the glyph from your dream. You sit beside him. He says, "Do you know what this one means?" You shake your head. He shrugs. "Me neither." But you both smile like you do. In the days that follow, people start asking you things, not advice, not stories. Presents. A woman brings you a piece of cloth and asks you to sit while she weaves it into a belt. A man asks if he can walk beside you for a while. Someone you don't recognize offers you a carved shell. No reason given. The spiral is spreading, not because of you, because of what moved through you, and still moves. One dawn, you wake before the sun. The stars are dimming. The village is silent, and you feel a pull, not upward, not inward, but backward, to the kiva. You walk there alone. The ladder is already in place. The fire hasn't been lit. You descend. The air is cooler than before. No priest, no masked ones. Just you. And the echo. You sit. Close your eyes, and you hear it. Your own silence. The way it fits in the room. The way it fills the cracks. The way it tells you, you are whole now. Not because you were fixed, but because you remembered yourself. You open your eyes. The sipapoo glows with morning light. You climb the ladder again, but you don't leave anything behind this time, because now, you carry the kiva with you, in your spine, in your voice, in every breath that listens, and in every silence that answers back. The day stretches long and golden across the mesa, and for the first time in weeks, you don't feel like time is something to survive. You feel it pass through you, like a river that no longer needs to be crossed. The villagers continue their lives as they always have, mending, weaving, planting. But you notice now, there is a rhythm to it all, a choreography too subtle to see from the outside. Everyone here is dancing even when they're still. You're invited to sit with the storytellers again, this time not to speak, to listen. The eldest of the group, her hair tied back with a strip of rabbit fur and her fingers warped with age, tells a story in a slow, cracked voice about the time the stars fell and set the hills on fire. Not lightning, she says, eyes twinkling. Something older. Something that wanted to be seen. The others nod. They've heard this before, but to you the words bloom differently now. You imagine the stars not as balls of fire, but as watchers, beings who drop down not to destroy but to remind, that we are visible, that the world is listening even when we think it's sleeping. You carry that story with you as you help paint pottery that afternoon. The pots aren't for use, they're for memory. Each one tells a story, some literal, some symbolic. Spirals, yes, but also footprints, eyes, birds with 3 wings. You're handed a brush made of yucca and asked to mark one. You hesitate, then paint a single curve. Not a full spiral, just a piece, the part where the turn begins. Someone asks what it means. You say nothing. The silence answers for you. Later, you're pulled aside by the man who tends the boundary markers, stones placed around the perimeter of the village to remind the wind where to stop. He asks if you'll walk with him. You do. He shows you each marker. Some are carved with names, others with images. One just hums faintly when you touch it. At the northernmost stone, he asks you to place your hand flat against it. You do, nothing happens. But then, everything does. You feel heat, vibration, and a sense of something waking up. Not ancient. Endless. You've been marked, he says softly. Now you mark. He steps back. You're handed a shard of ochre. You kneel and draw. Not a spiral this time. A doorway, but not open, just cracked, inviting, daring, welcoming. The man nods. Good. You walk back in silence. That night, the priest returns to you once more. He carries nothing, says little. Only this. There is another village. You blink. There is always another village, he adds, and they have not yet remembered how to listen. Your heart stirs. You know what he's asking, not commanding, inviting. You're not being told to leave. You're being released. He presses something into your hand, a small wooden disc, etched with a spiral on one side, blank on the other. You carry our silence with you, he says, and you let it speak. No ceremony, no farewell, just knowing. The next morning you wake before dawn. You pack nothing but the disc, your robe, and the shell someone once gave you. The child with the spiral drawings waves as you pass. The weaver gives you a strip of dyed cloth. Someone has placed a feather at the village gate, and then, just like that, you leave. You walk not away from the village, you walk into the listening. The sky is wide, the wind is kind, and somewhere out there, another fire waits to be tended, another spiral waits to begin. You follow no road. The path winds itself for you, like it's remembering something older than footsteps. Dust curls around your ankles, the heat presses against your shoulders, but the silence, you carry it easily now, like a bowl you've learned not to tip. Every sound around you feels chosen, a crow cawing, a cactus creaking, the soft slap of your sandals. It all fits into the rhythm, like verses in a poem the land has been writing since before humans had language. The village you approach appears as if out of a dream. Low adobe walls, roofs made of packed earth and timber, a central plaza where chickens peck at nothing in particular. No one greets you, but no one stops you either. The people glance once, curious, calm. One man nods, then returns to smoothing clay against a large oven dome. A child watches from behind a corner, then vanishes. This place doesn't feel unfriendly, just guarded. You understand that. The silence here is different, not sacred, wounded. At the edge of the plaza, an old woman sits weaving beneath a shade structure. Her eyes are nearly closed. You sit near her, wordless. After some time, she speaks. Not to you, exactly. To enter our stories, you must bring your own. You reach into your robe and place the wooden disc in your lap. She opens her eyes, sees the spiral, and nods. You've passed the first threshold. That evening, you're offered a corner of a shared dwelling to rest in. The people here speak little. They observe. You're not asked why you've come. They already know, not the details, the shape. They sense the echo in you. The next morning, a young girl leads you to the edge of the village. There, a pit has been dug. Not for fire, for remembering. We bury our names here, she whispers, before we tell them again. She hands you a smooth stone and a piece of charcoal. You understand what to do. You write not your name, but the word your silence gave you in the kiva. Not a label, a truth. You bury the stone, and with it, the expectation of being understood. You spend days listening. The people speak, but never explain. They gesture, offer, retreat. You learn the taste of their silence. It is different from the one you knew, but just as holy. One night, a boy wakes you by touching your shoulder. He leads you through a maze of narrow paths down into a rock hollow. At the center, a fire, small, alone, tended by no one. You may speak here, he says, but you don't. Not yet. You kneel before the flame and let it watch you. Let it see what you carried here, your silence, your fears, your coil of breath and vision. Then you whisper one sentence, only one. I remember the spiral. The fire bends and flares, and the boy smiles. He leaves you there. You stay until morning. In the days that follow, others come to you, one by one, never asking for answers, only presence. They sit with you in silence. They walk with you past the wind-carved stones outside the village. They leave tokens, beads, feathers, carved birds. You collect none of them, but you remember everyone, because that's your task now, not to teach, to mirror. One woman brings you her child. He is sick. You hold his hand. He opens his eyes and says, "Your voice is quiet." You smile. He says, "That's the kind of quiet I like," and falls asleep. You weep silently beside him, and when you stand, you feel something shift in your spine, like you're growing taller, or older, or truer. You begin to carve again, into bark, into stone, into air. Symbols that no one asks about, and everyone understands. One day a stranger arrives, dust-covered, wild-eyed, wordless. She looks like you did. Before, she's given water, she's given silence. Then she's brought to you, and when your eyes meet, you know. The spiral begins again, but this time, you are not the one entering. You are the one welcoming. The girl doesn't speak for 3 days. She sits cross-legged near the fire pit, face streaked with dust, hands curled into fists even in sleep. Her silence is not chosen. It's defensive, like armor made from breath. You recognize it immediately, not just because you lived it, but because you still carry it, tucked into the seams of your robe like a folded map you're not yet ready to read aloud. You don't approach her, not directly. You sweep the space near her without looking. Leave a bowl of water within reach. Arrange small piles of smooth stones beside her mat. Each gesture is an invitation without pressure, a presence without question. On the 4th morning, you find one of your spiral carvings carefully traced into the dust beside her, and beneath it, a new line, unsteady, but deliberate. She's responding. That afternoon you take her to the cliffside just beyond the village, the one where the wind makes the rocks sing if you listen long enough. You sit together beneath a leaning juniper. You say nothing. She reaches into her sash and pulls out a bundle, wrapped in torn cloth. Inside, a feather, a bone, and a small painted stone, half the face rubbed away. She places it in your lap. "Do you know who this was?" she asks. You shake your head. She stares at the horizon. "Me neither." She doesn't cry. She just watches the clouds gather behind the mesa. You nod and wrap the bundle again. That night, you draw a spiral for her in the firelight, not on stone, not on the ground, but in the air, with your finger. She watches it move, follows its shape with her eyes, then mimics it slowly, then faster, then again with her breath. You nod once. She understands. She may not know it yet, but she's begun her descent. The next morning, the weavers offer her a sash of uncoloured threads. Not a robe, not a rank, just a promise. She clutches it like an answer. You step back. You're not her teacher. You are her mirror. Days pass. She begins collecting things. Black pebbles, strands of yucca fibre, a hollow feather with a crack down its centre. She does not ask if they are sacred. She treats them like they are anyway. On the 8th day, she enters your shelter at dusk. "Will it always hurt?" she asks. You say, "Only when it matters." And she exhales, like she's been holding that question for a decade. She sits beside you, not across from you, beside, aligned. The moon rises, the village hushes. She speaks again. "I think I dreamed your face." You don't answer, Because she didn't dream your face. She dreamed the face behind the mask you wore, the one shaped like hers, the one she is becoming. In the morning, she's gone. Her mat is empty. But at the centre of it, a single coil of corn husk has been laid in a spiral. Not perfect, not symmetrical, but true. You smile and light a fire, not because you're cold, but because someone will need the warmth when they return. You walk the village again, slower now, as though each step is a word in a language only the land understands. A child hands you a stone shaped like a seed. Someone else offers you a song with no words. The silence has changed them too, and one evening the priest returns. Not yours, a different one. You know him by the way he doesn't blink when the fire pops, by the way his robe moves without wind. He doesn't speak. He just sits. You offer him water. He accepts it. He leaves a coil of red thread in your bowl when he goes. You nod. Another village is listening. Another spiral waits to turn. And you're still the bowl, still the echo, still the breath between silence and flame. You wake before the first crow cries. The sky is still that deep blue black where stars cling like memories too vivid to fade. The air is cooler than usual, touched by the breath of the high cliffs beyond the village. You sit up, feeling your bones settle into your skin like stones returning to the riverbed. There's no announcement, but you know, it's time to go. Not because you're needed elsewhere, but because the silence inside you has begun to stretch. You feel it searching outward, tugging gently at your chest like a tide turning. This is how you know a new spiral is ready. When stillness no longer feels like home, but like a door. You wrap your robe tight, tuck the red thread into your pouch, and take the carved wooden disc once more, the one with the spiral etched on one side, blank on the other. It has become lighter over time, though you know that's impossible. You don't say goodbye, no one expects you to. But as you pass through the centre of the village, a small fire flickers to life near the well. A boy sits beside it, the same boy who once asked if the coal spoke to you. He nods, he doesn't smile, he just watches you walk, and then, quietly, reaches behind him and places a stone beside the flame, a spiral painted in soot. You step beyond the village, past the memory stones, past the cliff that sings, back into the silence of open land. The desert is wider here, less tamed. The wind cuts sharper, the sun heavier. You walk in rhythm with your breath, letting the silence rise again around you, not empty, but full, always full. You travel for 3 days, then 4. Nights beneath stars that wink slowly, knowingly. Once you pass a dry riverbed and pause to trace spirals in the dust with your finger. When you rise, the wind scatters them, but you feel them linger anyway, imprinted in the unseen. On the 6th day, you see it. Another village, not like the others. Its walls are circular, its fields shaped into coiled terraces. This place remembers, even if its people have forgotten. They greet you with suspicion. A woman asks what you want. You show her the blank side of the disc, then the spiral. She says nothing, but her eyes narrow, then soften. She leads you to a shelter near the edge of the village. Rest first, she says, so you do. That night you sit at their fire. They talk, but not to you. Their words are hard, clipped, like stones being struck together. They do not tell stories here. They tell warnings of droughts, spirits, shadows that whisper from the mountains. You listen. And when they're finished, you draw a spiral in the ash with your fingertip, just once. No explanation, but they see it, and fall silent. The next day you walk the village perimeter. Children follow you at a distance, giggling, mimicking your walk. You let them. They need to play near the sacred. That night, a man approaches you with a flute carved from antler. He plays 3 notes. You answer with silence. He plays again, a longer phrase this time. And again you respond with stillness. Then he stops and bows his head. You remember it, he says. You nod. He sits beside you and doesn't play again, because some songs are finished once they're recognized. The village begins to shift around you, not suddenly, but in small ways. You find bundles of sage left near your shelter, a basket of roasted corn. One morning, the woman who first greeted you asks, "Will you show us how to listen?" You say no, and she nods, because she understands. You cannot teach listening, but you can embody it. You light a fire in the old pit near the center of their plaza. You sit beside it and wait. The people come slowly, some with questions, some with food, some with nothing but breath. You do not offer wisdom, you offer presence, and it changes them. You watch a boy draw spirals in his own footprints. You watch a woman hold her silence longer than she ever has. You watch an elder fall asleep at the fire and wake smiling. You have not told a single story. But the village is beginning to remember its own. You know you will leave again. Soon, but not yet. This spiral still has turns left, and your silence still has echoes to awaken. The days blend now, not into monotony, but into rhythm, like the repetition of waves or heartbeat or breath. Each morning you rise with the sun before it crests the horizon. You light the fire, not because it needs to be lit, but because it's waiting. The smoke climbs into the chill air and curls, always in spirals, always reaching, like memory hunting for a body to settle in. The people here have changed. You see it not in their words, they still speak little, but in how they move, how they wait, how they leave room in their silences now, room for mystery, room for meaning. You sit with the elders one morning as they grind dried cactus into dye. One begins humming, not for melody, but to guide the rhythm of her hands. You match her breath. She doesn't acknowledge you. She doesn't need to. You're part of the work now, part of the story. That afternoon, the woman who first led you into the village returns. She carries a bowl. Inside, dark water and a spiral of petals. She places it between you and says simply, "We've lost someone." You don't ask who. The name doesn't matter. The loss does. You take the bowl and sit by the fire. The people gather, not in grief, not in ritual, in remembering. You add a single ember to the bowl and set it beside the flames. It hisses, then stills. Everyone watches. No one speaks. And in that quiet, something releases. Like a knot you didn't know was in your chest. You breathe again. The next day, a boy follows you into the hills. You don't invite him. He just appears, barefoot, silent, curious. At the ridge, you stop. He does too. You kneel, trace a spiral into the soil. He crouches beside you and draws his own. Not beside it, inside it. You say, "That means something." He shrugs. "I know." When you return, he disappears into the alleyways between homes, but the spiral remains. Later, the village gathers for the moonfire. You've never seen it before. A flame dyed blue with crushed mineral and desert salts, lit only during the half moon, when shadows are not sharp enough to lie. They ask you to place the first offering. You bring the carved wooden disc, not to burn, to show. You hold it up, spiral side facing out, then turn it to the blank side. You place it beside the fire and walk away. They understand. Some bring feathers, others hair, a few bring water, poured into the dust where it vanishes instantly. No one brings gold, no one brings words, just truths. After the ceremony, you sit alone by the fading fire. The priest, who has not spoken to you since your arrival, approaches. He sits beside you, says, "They think you brought the silence." You look into the coals. "They already had it," you reply. He nods. "But they were afraid of it." You both watch the last flickers die. He hands you a piece of cloth, black, threaded with silver spirals, the same pattern you once saw on the inside of the kiva. You run your fingers along the threads. They feel warm, familiar. He says, "You'll need it where you're going." You don't ask where, you already know. There is another village. There is always another village. One where the silence still scares them. One where the fire hasn't remembered how to listen. One where the spiral has been forgotten. You sleep deeply that night, curled beside the new cloth. You dream of the first kiva, but this time the sipapu opens wider. You see stars not above, but inside, moving, spinning, calling. And when you wake, your fingers are already holding the disc, ready. The morning doesn't greet you, it waits. The wind holds its breath as you rise, slow and deliberate, folding the silver-threaded cloth around your shoulders like a second skin. It doesn't feel like leaving this time. It feels like being called. The spiral within you has begun turning again, not out of restlessness, but response. There is something out there, further down the path, that needs to remember itself through your silence. The village gathers as you approach the gate. No one blocks your way, but they witness you, A boy touches the spiral you painted in the dust days ago. A girl runs her fingers across the carved disc as you pass. The elder woman with the deep humming voice hands you a pouch of red earth. Use it when the forgetting begins, she says. You don't ask what she means. You know. You cross the threshold and you walk. Hours pass, the wind returns, the sky opens. The land around you cracks and coils like baked skin, dry, flaking, endless. You walk for 2 days, eating little, drinking when you must. But your hunger is not in your belly. It is in your ears, listening for the next place that's lost its echo. By the third evening, the air shifts. You see smoke on the horizon, faint, blue-grey, not a wildfire, a hearth, and with it, a village. Different again. This one is more scattered. No central plaza. Just scattered homes built into the cliffside, faces painted in ochre and soot. Ropes dangle from windows. Pots hang from hooks like forgotten moons. You approach. A dog watches you from a ledge. Doesn't bark. A woman walks past with a bundle of dry twigs on her back. She stops, looks you over, then points to the largest house. You'll sleep there, she says. That night you lie beneath a roof of woven reeds. The stars blink through the cracks. The silence here is jagged like something unfinished. The next morning you're invited, barely to a gathering. Not ceremonial, not communal, just necessary. A conflict. 2 families arguing over land, water, old wounds. You sit at the edge, unnoticed, until you close your eyes and breathe. Long, slow, audible. The room falls still, not in fear, in recognition. They've forgotten what silence feels like when it listens back. One of the elders turns to you. You have the quiet. You nod. He gestures toward the fire. Show it to us. You rise. Take a pinch of the red earth you were given. Sprinkle it into the flames. It flares, not high, but wide. The flames curve outward like petals. The room exhales. Later, one of the younger women follows you to your mat. She holds out a piece of bark, etched with scratches. You've seen this before, she asks. You squint. It's a spiral but broken, interrupted. You nod. I dream it, she says. But I don't know what it means. You draw a line in the dirt, complete the spiral, she gasps. I thought it was a trap, she whispers. You shake your head. It's a door. She weeps, not loudly, but fully. That night, you lead no ceremony, you light no fire, you simply sit, and the people gather, one by one, in silence, until the space itself hums, like the kiva did. When the fire knew your name, you look at the stars. You speak only once. You're not forgotten. No one asks who you mean, because in their hearts, they all feel seen. The wind changes on the 5th day, and the cliffs begin to hum, not metaphorically, but audibly. A low, continuous vibration, as if the earth is exhaling from somewhere too deep to measure. You're not the only one who hears it. The villagers pause when it happens, glance over their shoulders, then keep moving as if ignoring the sound might make it stop. But it doesn't stop, and neither do you. You spend the day among the children. They sit around you, silent, tracing spirals in the dirt with sticks and fingers and bits of broken pottery. They don't know what they're drawing, but they draw it anyway. One boy asks, "Did the stars give this shape to us, or did we give it to the stars?" You don't answer, because both are true. That night the humming grows louder. A woman collapses beside her hearth. She isn't injured, she's overwhelmed. Her hands tremble as she speaks, trying to describe a dream of water running backwards and fire whispering her name. The villagers call for you. You don't perform a ritual. You just sit beside her. You breathe, and eventually so does she, in and out. The silence wraps her like a second skin, and the humming subsides. Later, the village priest, young, unsure, eyes that haven't yet forgotten ambition, approaches you. "You're unravelling things here," he says. You nod. "I don't know if that's good." You say, "It's not." He blinks. "Then why do it?" You look up at the sky, where one star refuses to flicker. Because the spiral must turn. He doesn't understand, but he walks away with quieter steps. The next morning, the girl with the broken spiral returns. She brings you a bowl, unfired clay, cracked down the middle, barely holding water. "I want to offer it," she says. You nod. She places it at the base of the largest cliff. where the earth's hum seems to gather. It wobbles, unstable, but it stays upright. She bows, and the bowl breaks, on its own, as if completing itself. No one touches the shards. They leave them there, like sacred punctuation. That evening, the villagers gather again, this time without asking. They form a circle in the plaza. You do not stand in the center. You sit on the edge, watching, waiting. A child begins humming softly. A second joins, then a third. No drum, no fire, just breath, wrapped in rhythm. The priest, hesitant, walks into the middle. He kneels, presses his palm to the earth, then says, "We remember. Not much, but enough." You rise, step into the center, not to lead, to listen. You bow your head, place your hand on his. The earth stops humming, or maybe it starts listening. The silence that falls isn't empty, it's full. The girl with the broken spiral begins painting on the wall behind her home. Spirals, stars, bowls, masks, a figure walking between villages with no face, just a flame where the face should be. When she finishes, she looks at you, and you realize you are not the one who brings the silence. You are the one who reminds them how to hear it. The villagers begin drawing spirals on everything, walls, doors, even into their bread before it bakes. They're not following you. They're awakening. You stay one more night. The stars above are brighter than you remember. You lie beneath them, the silver-threaded cloth wrapped around your shoulders, and in your dream you see a long road. More villages, more forgetting, more remembering. You wake before dawn. The fire is still glowing. You don't wait for it to die. You rise and walk. The priest stands at the edge of the village. He doesn't speak. He hands you a pouch. Inside, broken pieces of the bowl. You take them and carry them, because even shattered spirals are part of the pattern. You walk the desert with the bowl shards nestled in your pouch, each piece tapping lightly against the others, like bones remembering a rhythm. The wind has shifted again. It doesn't push or pull, it follows you, like it wants to know where you're going. The silence stretches out ahead of you, vast and warm, not a void, but a corridor. You're not just travelling, you're returning, not to a place, to a knowing. You haven't seen another soul in days, but you are not alone. The stars keep pace above you. The spiral inside your chest turns steadily, no longer hurried, no longer cracked. The fire you carried from that first kiva still burns, low and steady, not in your hands, but in your spine, in your voice, in your watching. And then, just when the horizon feels endless, you see it. A circle of stones, not a village, not a shrine, just an old kiva. Forgotten by time, half swallowed by sand, its ladder has crumbled, its roof collapsed, but you know it, you've been it. You kneel, brush away the dirt from its edge, and there, etched faintly into the stone, a spiral, unbroken. You press your palm against it. The earth beneath your hand hums, faint, gentle, welcoming. You open the pouch, take out the broken bowl shards. One by one, you place them into the cracks of the collapsed kiva's floor. They fit impossibly, not like puzzle pieces, like offerings, like bones returning to a body. When the last shard rests in place, the wind quiets, the sky stills, and for a moment, everything listens, not to you, with you. You sit at the edge of the ruin, and let night fall. The stars rise, blinking softly, as if remembering how to open their eyes. The moon crests over the hills, and you feel it, the coil of every silence you've ever held, unwinding, not to vanish, to bloom. You close your eyes, and there, in the dark, you whisper the first word of your journey, not aloud, inside, and the earth answers, not with speech, with warmth, a breath rising from beneath you, ancient, whole, still turning. Now the stars are high, and your breath has slowed. You've walked far, listened deeper, and held fire without burning. You've touched the silence that lives beneath words, and you've seen the spiral not just drawn in dust, but written into your bones. You can rest now. The kiva behind you is quiet, but not empty. It holds echoes, footprints, ashes, beginnings. You can still feel the warmth of the bowl in your lap. the one that cracked and never stopped being whole. You remember the taste of cedar smoke, the whisper of owl feathers brushing your cheek, the sound of your own breath in the darkness louder than drums. You remember the child who wept, the coal that glowed, the moment you became the fire. Let that stay with you. Let it carry you now, gently, back to your own bed, your own breath, your own listening. Let your body soften into the spiral of sleep. There's no more work to do. Not tonight. The fire has been tended, the silence has spoken, and everything it touched remembers your name. You are part of the pattern now, and the pattern is still turning, still watching, still waiting. Sleep well, firekeeper. You've come through. 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 You've come.